Everybody feels controlled. Why? Liberation. What is going on a trucker strike, causing disharmony, carrying weapons, marching down to Ottawa and going against the Prime Minister and the elected body by the people of Canada? Liberation is within. And I got a lot of freedom on 88 keyboard piano. Yeah, I got a lot of freedom with a notepad and paper. I can write and draw, and oh yeah, it's a multitasking instrument called low tech. It's old tech. So I get up in the morning and I look at it, blaming on boomers again, the columns. And that's how can they blame boomers? Well, the debt cycles and everything. How can they just point like that? That's a generalization. Generalized conformities. We generalize everything. So in 1903, a book was written called Brave New World, the utopia of everybody the same. Utopia. The constructive idea of a dualistic system of what defines perfect. That's an ideology. An ideology is dualistic understandings. I don't like that. I don't like this. I don't like that. Well, I saw a bird flying by. Maybe I don't like him. But I accept it. Nature has so many non-dualisms. Ojibwe sign, I forget what it said in, I found the translation. It's non-dualistic, it's everything's interwoven with love. It's all connected, like a golden thread for everything. So the Four Agreements is a wonderful book to read on spiritualism and awakening. You know, everybody's wanting some drug, something to take them way out there. You know, Philip Glass was a composer, but he was so avant-garde-ly going against the grain of musical understandings, and avant-garde was just so dissonant. Blues is very dissonant, but avant-garde, oh, nobody listens to it. Yeah. I think it was too much out there to be congruent with Earth. Resonance, frequency, art, natural palettes, natural colors. You can change them a bit. You can draw in the eye. Art is incredible, and so is music. We try to draw your ear in. We are influencing you to enjoy it. When we start to influence you to conform you, I have a problem with that. Art and music is not to control or conform. It's to give the viewer or the listener pleasure, or relationships to melody, form, structure, but they might be a little different. So I was thinking of the albums coming out in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. They're all modulations. We had to change the modulation of the sound. But basically, all instruments have a semblance or a certain, what do you call it? Semblance? I think that's it. Like an acoustic guitar sounds different than electric. Piano's got a different tone. A trumpet, a horn, anything like that. But it's all playing relative scales and pitches. But within those relative scales and pitches, there's so much freedom. Whatever instrument it is, saxophone's an incredible instrument to bend the note, and that's where Milt Beatty came in. Saxophone could shrill up. Flute, anything like that. Harmonica, I started learning to bend notes of harmonica. That wasn't normal, you know. And we don't do it on piano. Well, we trill off. We go off a half a step and slide it off. It's a slur. Synthesizers, they started to get into pitch shifts. Ooh, just get that bend. Guitars, we put tremolo bars on there, bend the pitch. B-benders, so in 1960, it was Graham Parsons. He had a B string. He tried to make it sound like but he was mimicking an instrument that came out earlier called the pedal steel guitar. But originally, music was mimicking nature. Ancient music, yeah, it always mimicked nature. We wanted to have some familiarity with everything. Familiarity. What is familiar? Well, nature was our familiarity source. It was. So we went to the automobile, from the horse and carriage, from the bicycle. I'll tell you something. I got thinking about bicycles. They are very nice riding. But I was going along one day, and these guys are bicycling. I said, "Where am I?" I come out, and I don't know where the hell I am. My GPS went off on the trail. Because I got earbuds in here listening to music. But meanwhile, that road's got beautiful birds and everything on there. So finally, a man comes up on a bicycle. He's 78 years old. He's still riding the same distance, 40K a day. He says, you don't use it, you lose it, you rust. But he said, they don't listen to anything. I'm listening to nature, I'm listening to everything. Boomers. Well, maybe we're a little bit more not in the digital age. We're not in the car age all the time. Before this was father to son, son to daughter to mother to daughter. Grandmothers were teachers of the indigenous nations. There was no language. There was no written language until the conquistadors came from Europe to North America. And they came into Canada, and they said, "What is this place?" And they said, "Canada." And they tried to get the idea of what Canada was. That's what the native people named it. But they started writing on paper, and they thought, this must be witchcraft. You tell him something, he says, "You tell me something." Writes it on paper and hands it over to the next man. What is this? The advancements of our knowledge, pen and paper. Used to use chisel and stone. You know, I think it was we gotta look at history. Yeah, they're all dead people, I used to think. That's the way I used to think when I was a kid. Oh, God, to go open the history book here and read about dead people. Don't you think that's it? Dead people. I listened to Glenn Gould. He died in 1982. But He's dead, yeah. He was one of the most creative musicians of his time in classical music. And I'm looking at judgments by analytical professors of psychiatry. He must have Asperger's disease. Another music critic is in there saying, you don't sound like Bach. All I hear is Gould. So he was founded on the Brandenburg Concerto of Bach. Old music. But he was playing very differently. His fingers weren't arched like I play. They were very flat. But his articulation was perfect. What is that? What is that? Not normal, is it? So they're diagnosing him again. And I just said, Gould is Gould. That was who he was, his music. He was unusual. He wasn't normal. He was an animal lover. He didn't like being around people too much. But he traveled the world. Why? Well, he was so talented. They let him in Eastern Bloc countries when the Cold War was on. What did that mean? Well, he got tips on investment. Tips on investment. He had a fortune. And the Bay Street's looking at him and they're saying, what the hell's he? He's just a friggin' piano player. It's Glenn Gould. He's been traveling in Eastern Bloc. So there was no duality there. There was no ideologies. It was just economic structure. Get this? Ideologies have been dividing us up and screwing us around and putting us into little boxes, economics. So Marxism was wrong because it seems like Pol Pot and all this stuff. But what if the economics was correct? The economic model. What if free market capitalism was not correct? And it doesn't seem to be very correct right now. Free market capitalism. It is gone whooshed. So Marx got everything right about the free market system. But they said he got everything wrong about communism. No, it became an ideology after Lenin, Trotsky, and all those guys took over, and it got paranoid. So fear is not creativity. It's dualistic, and it holds us into ideologies. So communism became totalitarianism. Capitalism became Nazi. It's just too much now. It's one guy over the top, the other. And what they say about business? Listen to me. They say business is dog eat dog. Competitor. If he's your competitor, he's your blessing. Or she's your competitor. Because you got to come up with one top of that. In service, business, or skills. That's not dog eat dog. That's raise the rail, what we call in the crest here. I was with Ian Miller. He says, raise the rail. I'm up 5 feet. Let's go up higher in the arena. Raise the rail. Up the mountain. But it's not war. It's not dog eat dog. You're not tearing each other apart. You've lost the whole concept of business. What I've observed in companies that are trying to screw each other, the karma comes and the other guy's got more money than you have. I was in a business like that. And he says, just keep an eye on him. He's trying to get me down. I did. I reported him to the cops. He was doing everything. He was trying to outdo him. At the end of the time, he owned his company. It was a taxi company. It was Taxi Wars. And he was doing every little thing to screw us. So we just watched him. Paul went over and he started yelling at him. Are you all right? Are you all right? You're yelling at me. What are you going on about? And the karma came, and he just bought in every company. He bought all his cabs, everything off. He monopolized it because he was being an idiot with anger and trying to be dog eat dog. So at the end, Paul said to me, I did all right with you. You were just guiding me somewhere. I ended up with $16 million. That company sold it off and got the hell out. Warren Buffett's doing the same bloody thing right now. He's folded the cards. It's he's folded everything. It's not the hustle, Warren Buffett, but he's an old boomer maybe. No, he's the boomers. He's got more money than Bill Gates. Come on. And if we get into anything, he was owned Omaha Insurance. That was something that was nothing. Insurance companies were nothing. They were a new concept. Napoleon Hill, no, Dale Carnegie, was insurance sales. To sell something that was not heard of, policies. Whoa! And then the guy says on here, I don't read books. I went to some business development, old school, in the 70s. They gave me Napoleon Hill, Dale Carnegie, everything like that to read. And what was it? How to influence people. A lot of things there. So you got a bunch of influencers on there just using rubbish psychology. It's dark psychology. Just keep on running the same thing over again. You're using a form of brainwashing, but you're not using anything that's ethical. So here's the gig here. Nature flows, water flows, everything flows perfectly. But you got to do everything all out of the context of the isness of life. Dale Carnegie, Napoleon Hill, he's in one of his lectures, he said, I see a snake on the side of the road. Do I run it over? Yeah. Dale Carnegie has a guy come in and he says, you're really doing good, but you're drinking a lot. So what did Dale say? What would you do if you were me? Fire you? Me? No. Well, let's have a discussion. What would you do? So he was coming to a solution that was very natural. To point out his errors in a kind way. Do you understand this? This was leadership in those days. And I think when I read the books by Linda Kohano, Rapapana, she's right. Napoleon Bonaparte, Genghis Khan, George Washington, were all horsemen. Even Abraham Lincoln. They rode horses. And they did take and Dale, who else is it? Cal Westport. He's a technologist, but he doesn't believe in social media. So what does he say? He said, intervals of solitude or creativity. Well, I've been without cellular for a while. I'm just recording this on the hard drive. And I'm going to tell you something. My solitude, no music, nothing. That's crazy. I'm locked in here. It's not that bad. It's solitude. I go to the piano and play creatively. What I've already studied in music, little intervals of music knowledge, and I've expanded it. I haven't got a lot of theory behind me, but it's starting to come out. So just add a little bit of touch of theory, theoretical music, business sciences. Yeah, I think it's learning more. But really being alone in solitude and years of seeing variances and reading books is making me more congruent to what this is. This new change in business is dog eat dog. Another thing is, she's a Texas professor, and I like what she said. We came up with a psychology of self-esteem. And I talked to a young man about this. I said self-compassion. Well, they're both egoic. You know the bodhicitta or loving kindness? No. That's to extend the love or loving kindness for yourself to others. You have to have some foundation. The bricks on the wall, the mortar, everything has to have a foundation. A tree has to have roots, grounding. And if you don't have any foundation, you're just all over the place. So even music has a foundation. But the new stuff coming out now, I don't hear foundation. So if it's brand new, is it going anywhere? Is it going from here to here? Because you got to start somewhere on the road of life. You know, I've always tried to understand younger people. I go in the bar and she's just having her first drink. She's 19. Interesting. But I look at her neck and it looks, I said, what's the tattoo? I'm not being judgmental. It's my life map. Well, Robert Johnson told you that there's a crossroad and everything. And there's indecisiveness. Oh, hell, I got a lot of indecisiveness. So economics made sense to me. There's so many selections. But now, nobody sees the options. They don't look at options. And they look at, you're crazy if you're so undecisive. You changed your mind yesterday. Yeah, I changed it today. Because I'm observing. I'm undecisive is not wrong. That's one hand clapping. In Eastern philosophy. You know the problem with Western philosophy? Certainty principles. They want everything to make meaning. It's got to make meaning. They made a movie called The Sure Thing. Remember that? She was a sure thing, man. She's in California. She's gorgeous. She's sure thing. The trucker says, sure thing? I've never seen a sure thing, son. But hop in this rig, I'll kick her down to California. He has this ideology of a young, beautiful California girl being a sure thing. Relentless. Just pure sex and lust. There's no sure thing. There is. And I told a businessman that. I don't like that. Well, what about Colin Powell? Be prepared. You know, he was teaching that in Boy Scouts. But what's he teach? He teaches, it's a quantum theory principle of certainty is always uncertain. Don't like that. Well, is COVID virus a certain thing? Was that certain that that would happen? Your business went under, and you're going down to the store after 6 years of not smoking. Gotta have a cigarette. There's a few things certain. Death is certain. But how fast do you want to go?